am so excited today because today we are going to be adding color to our turtle. We are going to be using something very special called glaze. Glaze is what we call paints for sculptures, clay sculptures. To use the glaze, we always hold our paintbrush correctly. We hold it like a pencil grip right behind the danger zone, okay? The silver part is the danger zone. It's not for hands or paint, okay? Then we have the bristles. Those are the hairs on the brush. That's for the paint only. Please don't touch them. And then we also have the handle. We're gonna hold our hand here, not at the top and not in the middle, but right behind the danger zone, okay? Now, your turtle looks a lot different than it looked last time. It's gonna be hard like a rock, but please don't knock it on your table, and please be very gentle with it because you don't want it to break. It could break if you're not careful, okay? To use the glaze, we're gonna get a little tiny bit on our brush, just a little tiny bit. It's really thick. It's thicker than regular paint, so we only need a little bit. And we might be getting a little messy today because you're gonna have to pick up your turtle, make sure you paint the correct parts of it. Okay, the first time we're gonna paint in a straight lines like this. You see how my paintbrush is going horizontal? I'm painting up, side to side, not up and down, okay? And when you paint, you're gonna have to get in between all those little grooves and cracks and spaces that you have on your turtle because your turtle might be lumpy and bumpy from your shoe print, okay? When you run out of paint, get a little bit more, and look how I'm painting horizontal. I'm gonna paint my turtle one time so that I cover up all the white on the clay. Then I'm gonna have to paint the sides of my clay because the side of the clay is the turtle's shell, and I want that to be colored too, okay? I'm not gonna paint the bottom. I'm gonna remind you again later, but we are not painting the bottom. Right now I'm going around, still using horizontal lines, and I'm painting around the turtle's shell. I may need to pick him up and turn him with my other hand, and I may be getting a little bit of glaze on my fingers. A little bit is okay. Your whole hand should not be covered in glaze though, right? Turning him gently, or I could leave it on the table and just turn my brush sideways and paint the side of the turtle shell like that, okay? I'm only painting it one time right now, okay? Now I'm gonna paint the legs, the head, and the tail. Making sure to get on the side of the head, the side of the legs, and the side of the tail. I don't have to pick it up. I might not need to. I can just turn my brush sideways and turn him like this. Okay, I'm not putting a bunch of globs of paint on my turtle, right? I'm just sweeping the paint around horizontally until it spreads out. I'm not using any globs of paint, okay? There. I painted my turtle one time. I painted the top of the shell, the sides of the shell, the top of the legs, head and feet, and the sides of the legs, head, feet, and tail, okay? Now I'm gonna let him dry and I'm gonna paint him again. I'll check back with you when he's dry. After a few minutes, my turtle is dry. The paint is dry. The first time I painted it, it was really shiny and wet. And after a few minutes, it's dry. Even when I touch it, I can tell that it's dry. That means we're gonna paint it again. This time, we're gonna use vertical lines. So I'm gonna turn my turtle the way it was, get a little bit of paint on my brush, and I'm gonna paint it in lines that go up and down. When I do that, my turtle gets a little bit darker. Even if you're using a different color than me, you're still going to paint one time, let it dry, and then paint it a second time, which is what I'm doing now. Don't forget, we have to paint the sides. We can lift it up with our hands or we can turn our brush sideways. And we have to paint the other body parts of the turtle. Glaze can be lots of different colors and lots of different textures. Sometimes glaze has little pieces of rocks or glass in it. So if your glaze has little crumbs in it, you're just gonna ignore that and let it become part of your turtle. And if that happens, if you have glaze with little glass or rocks in it, that means your turtle sculpture is gonna have flecks or bursts of color when we see it the next time. Right now I'm painting the legs, okay? So I painted it 2 times. So I'm going to let it dry, and I painted in vertical lines. It looks a little darker, but we still have to paint it one more time. I like to set my brush on the cap of my paint while I'm waiting for it to dry. Okay, time to take another break. I'll see you back when my turtles dry again. Okay, after painting my turtle 2 times, I'm checking him again for a 3rd time. Looks dry, feels dry. I'm ready to paint a 3rd time. Now I'm going to go back to horizontal lines again. Each time I paint my turtle, I want to use opposite lines. I'm turning my turtle the way it was at the beginning and painting side to side. And this time, the 3rd time, I'm really making sure I cover up all the white clay on the top, the sides, and the head, legs, and tail. Okay, I'm not painting the bottom. My bottom is so nice and white. I'm not painting the bottom. If I paint the bottom, that paint on the bottom will stick to my kiln when it's in the kiln again, when it heats up, and it'll melt to the shelf. Okay, so I don't want that to happen. Okay, I'm turning it around and making sure I get the sides. I can lift it, or I can just turn my brush sideways. Okay, now I covered up all the white clay. My turtle is going to be so beautiful and nice and shiny when I'm done. Remember, paint your turtle 3 times, but make sure you wait each time for it to dry. I can't wait to see your beautiful turtles. Here are some turtles after they've been glazed. They look really nice, but they're a little dull. Something is missing. Aha, here's what they look like after they come out of the kiln again. Nice, shiny, bright, and beautiful.